welcome to Eddie Studios. I gotta talk more about the Osmo Action 4 today, and specifically something else I purchased for it that I felt like I needed to have, and that was a set of ND filters. So I bought these ND filters here. Telesin is the brand name, and there's a reason I bought these specific ones and not the DJI ones or other sets that you see on there. Let me tell you why I felt like I needed ND filters. If you watched my last video where I compared this to the Osmo Pocket 2, you saw that the thing that drove me the most nuts about it was something that had to do with making cinematic shots. You can shoot all day in auto and not care about your shutter speed and ISO and just shoot action shots all day long and you're good to go, fine. But if you want to get the shutter speed you want for cinematic look, you need ND filters, or you need a way to get your lens darker, allowing you to get the shutter speed that you want. In general, to get the motion blur that you see with the human eye, hopefully that you're seeing right now because I set my shutter speed right on my camera, to get that motion blur, you need to set your shutter speed at the 180-degree rule. So if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, you set your shutter speed at 1/60. And that gives you the most natural motion blur. Now, if you go higher than that, say you set it at 1/120, you're gonna get less motion blur, and it's gonna look more like an action shot. If you paused it on movement with a higher shutter speed, let me put my camera on a higher shutter speed right now. Here's my movement on 1/160. Same movement, this is 1/125. Yet I'm shooting at the same FPS, which is 24 frames per second. 1/320, this is as high as I need to go. And there should be less motion blur. You should be able to stop it on any of these frames and actually see my hand looking like a hand and not looking like blur. Now I have it back to where I want it, so I have my natural motion blur. It's 180 degrees of shutter, but if your camera doesn't show degrees, it's 1/50. On 24 frames per second, 1/60 on 30, 1/120 if you're shooting 60 frames per second, and so on. You can go out, like I said, shoot like it's just an action camera, let it automatically select the shutter speed for the exposure, and if there's clouds over, you'll have more motion blur. If there's no clouds, you'll see basically no motion blur. It's tough to make cinematic footage from that because you're gonna be cutting frames and some of them is gonna have more motion blur than others, and yeah. So I like to be able to control it. This Telesin set of ND filters came with 4 filters. So I have my CPL up top, I've got my ND8, ND16, and ND32. This should give me a well-ranged video. If you wanted to do long exposure photography, you might need to go higher than ND32, depending on your lighting outside, but oftentimes you need to get into the hundreds for doing long exposure photography. So this set's not great for that, but this set's great for everything video-wise that I pretty much would need. The great thing about these ND filters specifically though, is how they go onto the camera. All the other ones I looked at, you had to unscrew the lens and then screw in a new lens. But these ones just slide on over the top of it, and I believe these were around for the Action 3, but they also fit the Action 4. As far as I can tell, the ones that screw on for the 3 don't translate over to the 4. That's not really why I got it though. I got it for convenience. They fit good, they're hard enough to take off where you can get a pretty good jolt and it's not going to shoot off of you. You wreck on a snowboard or something, maybe, but I banged it around like this quite a bit and it doesn't even seem to loosen up. But they just slide on over the top, and it's rubberized inside of here, just like a rubber ring around here, so it really cinches on there well. It's convenient for speed. You're not unscrewing and then screwing back on. You can just pop them on and you can say, oh, well, that wasn't dark enough for me. That ND8 didn't cover it. I got to go switch to the ND16, pull it off and switch real quick instead of unscrewing. Convenience is important, I feel like, with ND. I feel like this is a great solution for this camera. We're gonna go check it out, try it out, and I'll give you my final thoughts after we view some of the footage. I've got my exposure at over 1, so +1. Obviously, it's utilizing the sky in the background as some of its why it's telling it it's exposed at exactly that. So that's where it's getting its brightness from. Anyways, we got the ND8 on this guy. It looks on this screen, it looks like the colors look great, but we'll see. So here's this test with this exposure. I'm gonna get the same exposure without the 8 on it, and set all my settings to make it so that it's the same exposure. All right, my shutter speed is now over 1/240, and I had to drop my ISO from 200 on the last shot to 100. So at a lower ISO, I like to go under 800 on my ISO. Usually 200 and 400 are good for having less noise in your image. So here's the hand test. I'm gonna play them next to each other. Can you see the difference in motion blur? Hopefully we did. And we have a good reason that we would want to shoot in the correct shutter speeds to get the correct motion blur. I'm on the ND16 now. I wanted to get some sun in it to give us the correct exposure at the same settings. So I'm at the 1/50 shooting in 24 frames per second, and I'm at 200 ISO. So here's my hand movement with the correct shutter speed for the correct motion blur. It's funny, it was again the 1/240, so this is basically the same test as the last one. The only difference is how did that ND16 look, but you can see the difference in motion blur putting them up next to each other. But how much different did the image look on the 16 is what's important, like the colors. How's the colors to you guys? I'm gonna put it on right now. All right, so this is what the image looks like with the ND16 on, letting me get the right exposure in it. And let me show you what it looks like when I take it off. So that's what it looks like, same settings, but without the ND16 on. So on all the footage so far I've showed without doing any editing on the color. But let's go ahead and color grade one of these. So let's color grade, I'm gonna show my trees. Let's get a shot of my dog. I'll color grade the shot of my dog. This is the ND32 on here. I just kind of changed it so I'm more facing like at the sun. That way it would expose to 1/. So it's at 1/50 and I'm at 200 ISO right now. But it's gonna be the same. I'm not even gonna try to change everything up on it. You guys get it by this point about the blur. ND filters help out to just be able to control that and control what you're going to have for motion blur. That's all you're doing here. You're trying to control what you're gonna have for motion blur and how it's gonna look in every shot. I really do like these. I do feel like I wish I had something smaller to keep them in though. They'd only give you the box that it comes in. I wish they had like little sleeve or something that you could slide them in. It would just make it easier to bring it with you. I'm sure you could find a sleeve or something to slide them in. I just kind of wish they would have sent something. Maybe little lens caps for them. That'd be cool. If they all came with little lens caps, it'd get a little bit redundant, but maybe if they all capped together in one little tiny tight stack, that'd be nice. Just some thoughts, Telesin. So if you're listening, maybe something to think about creating. Otherwise, this is definitely like the most convenient ones that I've seen so far for this. I haven't actually come across a variable ND, which would be inconvenient and convenient at the same time. But if I saw one, I'd definitely test it out. But these are so convenient, the fact that you could just slip them on. I'm gonna go check out this footage though, and then we'll wrap it up real quick in the studio. Yeah, I had to check out the CPL, so let's get this shot right here with the dog in it. And this is with the CPL lens on it. This is the same shot with no CPL, same exposure. Let me show them next to each other. After looking over the footage and everything, I think I really like the color that it gives. None of the ND filters seem to screw with your color at all, and it doesn't soften the image too much. I think they look great. So I'm definitely really liking these Telesin lenses. The convenience of being able to pop it off, pop it on. It's just so much better in the field to not have to mess with screwing on and off stuff. Great NDs. So I hope this helped you make a decision on buying NDs. I'll definitely have them linked in the description. It'll help me out if you purchase from there. It doesn't cost you any extra, but either way, I hope this helped you. If you like them, snag them from down there, that'd be great. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I have a few more Action 4 videos coming out in the next couple weeks. But until then, check out my last video that I just posted right here, and I will see you guys next week with another one on the Action 4. Peace out, go shoot something awesome. Don't forget to post it. See you next week. Bye guys.